A housing authority may only operate if the municipality governing body declares by resolution that there's a need for authority. My issue is that that's now being totally blown up. I hear it from our residents. We don't want Bridgeport, New Haven to come in and build what they have there here in my town. That's what I hear. I need to speak for those folks that are in my district that I think are worried about that. I think if there could be deals made with the town, I'm all supportive of that. Like that's how it is currently written today. It's just not happening. I'm more than willing to have continued conversations on how can we find a way that might be able to work out. What can we do to make those towns or municipalities work better with housing authorities? Sure, we can have those conversations, but where we're at right now, I just don't think I'm there. So it is a contract, it is a private property, and the ability to extend that contract beyond the dates of the contract is concerning. Senator Moore, I know she just left, says that a lease is a binding agreement except for the expiration date. So that's a little worrisome to me. So I do want to acknowledge that and put that to the side and say I concur with other people that have spoken on that. There's 7 different ways that landlord can still evict somebody from a time lapse standpoint. The last one on the list was because the landlord intends to use a dwelling unit as his or her principal residence. I think that's too short, too narrow. We have to expand that. So I was just giving an example to somebody. I have 15-year-old daughters right now. They're twins. Let's say I have a property. I don't, but let's say I do, that I'm going to rent out. Well, my daughters go to college and they want to now have a place to stay and they don't want to live at home. They don't want to come back and live at home with mom and dad after being in college and having their fun, right? Well, I have a property. They can't live there. Theoretically, they would not be able to live there. My elderly parents, right? If I have elderly parents who want to sell their home, downsize, but I have a property that they can stay in for free because they won't pay me rent, maybe, right? In this scenario, the way it's written here currently, I would not be able to allow them potentially if there's a tenant in there that wants to use this bill to protect their stance to stay in there in perpetuity, basically, to do so. So I think we also need to look at that part of it. I think we need to immediate family, whatever. I know Senator Sampson mentioned about it. Is it a friend of theirs that just needs something? I don't know how far we extend it, but immediate family, it absolutely should be extended to. Like, I think that's a minimum that has to be changed here. We want them to be able to help support their family, their parents, their kids, to find that housing if they own it. Worrisome to the folks that are in these units, right? So you have a 50-unit facility and you have someone moving in, those 49 other units don't have a say. They don't have any protections about that. Someone who might be on the sex offender list who they don't know. Right. So it's not just the landlord that it's the people that also live in that unit, in the unit surrounding. So it is worrisome. It is something that we need to think about. And again, when we talk about having conversations, let's continue to have that conversation and see how we can do it. This bill is really not like how was discussed previously. Until we saw the language in actually this bill, it was not what was being discussed internally about this. We had been discussing a misdemeanors of allowing a look back of 3 years. And then for a felony, there's gonna be 7 years. We come now when the language actually gets written, which I understand, we don't have a bill and we talk about all the time when we're raising bills. Oh, this is a concept. And we ask questions to try to get understanding of what we're even voting on. We kind of had an understanding in this situation, and unfortunately, it changed. We are now at 3 years for a felony when you committed the crime, when the conviction happened, and then 1 year if coming out of being incarcerated. That's vastly different from what we had originally talked about. That is frustrating to me as someone who's willing to talk and willing to sit down and have conversations with everyone. We have multiple screening meetings to kind of be, I don't want to say blindsided, but to not understand what we're actually going to be talking about, what we're actually going to be discussing, what actually is going to be in front of us. Will housing providers, if this bill were to pass, as is, be able to still do a criminal history background check on the proposed tenant, looking back as far as they would like, and getting a full criminal history background check if this bill were to pass?
No, it wouldn't be a full criminal background check. It would be the 3 years for a felony from the point of conviction or the 1 year following conviction. And in section B, it talks about that before you do a denial, you must review the nature and severity of the crime, the relationship of any the crime may have to a prospective tendency of a person, the information pertaining to the degree of rehabilitation, or the time elapsed since the conviction.
So I'm confused. So maybe I misread the bill. I understand that they can't use that data for a description, but you're saying now they cannot even do a criminal history background check at all. Because again, that was not something that I was understood of. I'm not saying they can't use the information. I understand that to make a determination on the fact if they're going to use that as a way to provide that tenant housing. But again, I'm specifically asking, are they allowed to even run the background check itself? Sorry if I know I'm asking a duplicate question, but I think, I don't know if we're on the same page, and that's why I'm only asking for a second time. So are they even able to do a background? Not saying they're going to use information, but can they at least hold the information itself? That's all I'm at, like, hold the report.
I'd like to ask LCO.
Yeah, Rep. Scott, as currently drafted, there's nothing in the language of this bill that would preclude a landlord running a criminal background check.
It's kind of like when you're in a court trial, you watch on Law and Order or whatever, and someone blurts something out crazily in court, and the judge goes, "Hey, disregard anything you heard there." Well, it's already out there, right? Like you're not going to be able to. You could see their criminal history, but yet you're not supposed to look at it. You're going to have to do the math to figure out, does this fall into that window? So my point being is that how is this ultimately going to be policed? So you have 20 or 30 people who are literally applying to try to get this unit. One person who might have a criminal history gets denied. They are going to go and now go to CHRO. I worry that CHRO is going to get flooded. I'll be honest, this is going to be more of a feel-good bill instead of something that's actually going to help these folks get a housing unit. That's what it's going to be. I don't think there's any teeth here. I don't think CHRO is going to be able to stand on this. I do have worries about this. Again, I want to have more conversations and how can we do this to make it work and make it help. I don't know if we're going to get there on this bill specifically, but the idea is that we need to keep talking and really getting to the root of the problem. And again, I just don't think this bill does that.